This is Get Real with Bob and Stacy, the show that helps you learn about the mortgage and real estate markets. Get the inside scoop from their expert list of guests and have some fun along the way. Now, here's Bob Gallagher and Stacy Alcorn.
Welcome back. You're listening to Get Real with Bob and Stacy. You're joining us for our Leaders and Legends segment. And joining us by phone today, we have Kelly McMenamin, co-founder of Pixies Did It. Welcome to the show, Kelly.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
So I'm very excited because when I saw your bio come over, the first line says, do you want to be more organized, less stressed, and happier without having to change who you are? And that sounds very nice to me.
That's the only way you're getting organized.
I know. I am disorganized, hot mess. So I'm very excited. But let me give a formal introduction to Kelly McMenamin. Sisters Katie and Kelly McMenamin, the professional organizers behind Pixies Did It, have the simple answer to making organizations stick for anyone. Different people need different solutions. You have to know your personality type and then use real-life methods and easy systems to match it. So they have a new book that recently came out called Organize Your Way. Katie and Kelly offer personality-based solutions for your entire home. The first step is to figure out your Pixie type by taking a fun, quick quiz. Next, they provide organizational techniques for each room of the house with universal solutions that work for almost everyone, as well as magical solutions unique to each individual Pixie type. I think my Pixie type would be slob. Is that one? Is that one of the types?
You might be my sister. She is out of the pair of us. She's in the duo. She's the hot mess.
Yes.
She's the disorganized organizer, and really, but that's kind of how we came up with the idea to begin with.
Wow.
If it had just been me, I was just your average organizer who basically thought everybody should organize like me.
Yes.
Everybody knows an organizer is somebody who's really neat, and they're probably the kind of person who's like, oh, you know what you need to do? You need to do to-do lists. If you're forgetting to do things,
Yes.
you need to do to-do lists every day. And everything needs to have a home and a place for everything and everything in its place, and it should be hidden away. There's a lot of things we tell people we should do. When I was writing this book, I was thinking to myself, is this just like the lazy way out? Is this really true? But
Yes.
I have been in people's house for 10 years, and it is really true. I just have to fight that instinct that I think my way is the only way.
That's funny.
And but really, it's exciting because nobody else has really written a book about these 8 different personality types of the way people organize. And we essentially were like anthropologists in people's homes for the past 10 years, watching what they're doing, knowing their personality types. And the same people kept on doing the same things, had the same hang-ups, had the same challenges, were good at some things, bad at others. And we just kind of pulled all that research together and made this book.
This is awesome because I think I told you, Bob, that, and I think I admitted this on a show, that I forget the name of the book. There's some famous organizer woman that wrote this book on getting organized, and my mother had seen it, like, I don't know, on Oprah or something like that. 2 Christmases in a row, she bought me the same book. And I said, I was so upset. I'm like, Ma, how insulting. I'm like, do you know you got me that book last year? And she couldn't remember. She just saw a book on how to be organized and assumed I needed it.
Twice.
And I tried it.
Couldn't possibly have bought it for you because then it would have solved all your problems.
Oh. So I tried the book and it made sense.
Okay.
Like I read the book and it made sense for a week. And then I just could not keep up with it. So this sounds amazing. So first of all, you talk about the importance of being honest with yourself about whether certain organizing solutions are even feasible. Talk about that.
It's just what you just said, that for a week, it made sense that you could do it, but then after that, it was really hard. And, a lot of our solutions are built around what people already do. Right. Now, you might think, how can that be? Because I'm so messy. That would just leave me a mess. It's like, you come home, you drop your coat right where you are. And so instead of saying, okay, now, Stacey, you need to hang it on a coat hanger, we would just say, why don't we try to figure out really close to where you just naturally drop your coat,
awesome.
Put a hook there.
Yes.
Not, you have to go through a maze to get to the hook. Like, is there a place? We're always trying to find the simplest, easiest solution that's closest to what you already do.
Right.
Because then you don't really have to change. When you think about hanging a coat up in a coat closet, we always give the example of, like, do you remember watching Mr. Rogers? I mean, that man took forever and a day to take his coat off and get ready. Even as a kid, I was impatient.
Right.
But, taking your coat off and putting it in a closet, it's a 5-step process, minimum, not including I can't find a hanger,
Right.
I've got to push coats out of the way, because you got to take off the coat, you got to find the hanger, you got to put it back on, close the door, open the door. So when you think about the hook, it's as close to draping it on the back of a chair as you can possibly get.
Right.
And, when you come home, I mean, everybody can, push against their personality type at work and be somebody else. But when you come home, your boss isn't there, your clients aren't there. You just want to be your shoes off self.
Right.
And that's what we're trying to build systems around and help people with. And all of our solutions are kind of around there. We have some, personality-specific ones, and then we have the greater ones, like keep it simple. Keep it as close to one step as possible. Build it around what you already do. If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Right. And I was reading, you say the perfect magazine images we see of organized homes, you say those are just eye candy. It's not reality.
Yes.
Thank God.
And I love them. I mean, they're so serene and perfect, but you realize they have been staged. They are literally staged. And throughout your day, especially if, say, you have young kids or just a messy spouse, it's never going to look as perfect as, okay, I'm done cleaning it, because somebody's going to come and sit and, move the pillow so it's not as fluff.
Right.
Or, just even little things like that. Then maybe, my sister or other people like her would be like, I'm sorry, what? A pillow was askew? But those are the kind of things I notice. I'm like, and I'll go fluff that pillow.
Right.
I mean, this is something my sister probably never does, ever.
So funny.
Nor will she ever do. But we just want people to realize that, what magazines should do, and maybe we'll end up doing this on our website soon, but, do a photo shoot throughout the day, like a real-life photo shoot of, even my home that I like to have perfect. I have young kids, and throughout the day, it doesn't look perfect.
Right.
Because it would be really inefficient if I spent my entire day cleaning up after my kids.
It's funny that you mentioned that, because when my wife and I were building a house, she saw in the magazine that instead of mudroom closets, the trend was to go for those cubbies and open hangers and everything. And she wanted to change the house to accommodate that. And the builder actually talked us out of it by saying exactly what you did, that it's not going to look like it does in a magazine photo, and you're not going to have a closet door to shut on it.
Yeah, well, I was going to say that, that kind of a mudroom is great if it's like a room off to the side that you don't look at. But if it's like part of your kitchen, you will be looking at masses of coats and muddy boots and eating your Cheerios like,
right.
You could close the door on that. I mean, there's kind of a reason, for a lot of the things architecturally that exist.
Yes.
And that's one of them. Your guy was probably pretty right.
So do you have any advice on how to declutter?
Yes, it depends on who you are. Because someone like me, my family accuses me of being cruel and mean. And, I just had my son's first birthday party, and there's balloons all over the floor. And the kids were having a ball playing with it. And this morning while they were at school, I, went and, it was basically the balloon massacre with a knife.
Yes.
And my mom was teasing me that I'm just, my kids and everybody knows me as the person who has no problem getting rid of anything. And, then there's people in between me who are a little more sentimental, and, they have a lot harder time getting rid of things that they're attached to. And then people who are just really practical. They just really want to keep, those are the grocery bag people who just keep 150 plastic grocery bags just in case. And that is actually probably the only thing I would say it's so hard to actually declutter, to make people let go of these grocery bags. But to recycle them, et cetera. There's tons of places to do that. But our best advice for decluttering for people that just have hard time letting go of things, the sentimental people, because those, even any organizer can tell you that's a really hard thing to do. And even just a lot of advice out there just doesn't work for these types. We call them organics, and a few other types in between. But they basically, if you say, just take a picture of it, you'll always have it. They're like, no, I want the actual object, not a photo of it. It physically means something to them. What we do is we have these things called, we joke, magical later boxes. But basically the things that you're on the fence with that you want to get rid of, you just can't, and maybe something your mother made and it's hideous, but you just can't throw it away because, she's not here anymore or what have you. What we say is just put them in the magical later box, get them out of your daily life, the clutter, that might be, annoying you in your house or impeding your organization. Put it in an attic for a garage, not for, indeterminate amount of time, but, pick a time, 3, 6 months, 1 year, whatever kind of sits well with you. And then whatever you remember is in the box that you really miss and think, I shouldn't get rid of that. That's what you go back and grab. Everything else that you see in there that you totally forgot about, when you think about it, you totally forgot about its existence.
Right.
And that's kind of the signal of, okay, I can get rid of this because I really didn't care. In the moment, sometimes it's really hard when you're decluttering because all of a sudden you're touching something. You're like, oh, I really like this. Why don't I use this or what have you? And that's why there's something about time, space, and distance that helps you realize there was one thing in that box. Or let's say you have 5 boxes. There was 2 things in 5 boxes that I missed.
Yes.
And that's for the people who really have trouble letting go. It's kind of the same as putting it in your attic and forgetting about it, but it's a system, and that you have to come back to it.
Yes.
It's not just meant to just do a bunch of later boxes and put it in there, but really come back to it, and then just donate the rest of the boxes.
That's awesome. My
That's a good
mother
idea.
has a magic later basement of literally. She gave me 3 weeks ago. I'm 44 years old, and last week she found my Smurf collection, and she's like, "You're never gonna guess what I found. I'm gonna bring it to your house, and your daughter could play with it." I'm like, "It's probably lead paint that the Smurfs were dipped in." So I'm like, I'm putting it in the trash, and you can feel free to throw out any other toys you come across.
That's really funny.
So
yeah, I mean, it's funny because a lot of people always want to sell things, and there's certain personality types. Funds are very practical, and they like to sell things and get value for things. And it's really hard for me to get them to just quickly donate things. They want to sell them online, on eBay, and I we are the kind, gentle organizers, and that I say that's totally fine, but get it out of your daily life because I'll walk into someone's home and they'll have all their clutter that they are going to sell in their dining room. And you're like, okay, well, gosh, you're probably not going to be using your dining room anytime soon since it's an eBay sales floor, basically. So we just want people to really live in the spaces they're in and use their attics for the active decluttering, or literally, I am storing this for my kids. Maybe not the Smurfs, but maybe their diplomas or a couple of things that they're going to want one day.
Right.
Kind of thing.
So you say that you have a secret for people on how to change absolutely nothing yet feel more organized.
So somebody who's a hot mess is usually what we call a piler. So this is one example.
Yes.
But there's pilers and filers. On one end of the spectrum is the classics, and these are filers. These are people who file away items, who use filing cabinets, who like things hidden away. Obviously, I'm describing myself. And probably half the population. So the people who tell you about to-do lists, and then so classics are on one end, and the other end are organics and smarts, and they're pilers. These are people who just naturally pile things. Everybody piles things, but classics I meet are like, oh gosh, I pile things. I'm like, right, you probably have 2 polite piles on your desk. Pilers pile things all over, leave things out to remind themselves, like a visual reminder. And what we say to these pilers out there is not that you need to start using a file cabinet, because that's actually a really bad idea. Filing cabinets for these types are like mausoleums. It's where papers go to die.
Yes.
And you're like, I have no idea what's in that box. Literally.
Yes.
It's where we say to these people, we're like, put your will and your insurance policy.
Yes.
Because the will you're never going to see. Somebody else is going to find it in your filing cabinet for you. And everything else, it's just dead in there. So what we do is we really come in. Sometimes we do archaeological digs on these piles to figure out what person's categories are in their life, what kind of papers coming in, going out. And then, it depends on the person. Sometimes they'll have 5 piles, 6 piles, 7 piles. We'll put them in either acrylic, open, transparent bins so they can see the piles, because it's really important to see what's in the pile. There are visual memories, like, the permission slip for your kids underneath that one pink Post-it note.
Right.
That kind of a visual memory. So if someone like me comes and, puts your piles in opaque bins with lids, it's the same as a filing cabinet. You're like, I don't know what's in that box.
Right. Yes.
It's been sitting on my shelf for 6 years. I have no idea. So that's really the trick, is that these people are naturally always going to pile, and so we just say continue piling, and we just put a little more structure around it while keeping it really open and visual. Sometimes we put labels on it if somebody in the household has to interact with this person's piles, and we don't want them messing it up or just putting random stuff in a pile that actually has a purpose. And really, they don't ever have to file again. It's like when it gets to the top, go through your pile, get rid of a few things, and that's it. I mean, so you don't have to change who you are. You don't have to become a filer. I mean, everyone I talk to who's like my sister and probably like you, who are organic, we call them organic freedoms, smart freedoms, so many of them are like, I bought this filing cabinet. I'm really going to try to file. And we're like, bye. I'm sure at the office you have to do that. Like at home, don't.
Right.
We create 7, 8. Sometimes we always tell them, like, get like 1 or 2 extra bins because you'll always end up, it's kind of an iterative process where you might end up finding, you know what, I want to add an extra pile for this category. And, most people find that it's actually just the way that their brain works, and then they can just be themselves, and they're more organized. Which, the definition of organizing is retrieval.
Yes.
Really. End of the day, like, why do we care about being organized? And you're like, because you want to be able to find things when you need them without a bowling ball, falling on your head.
Right.
Or your pipe paper is flying everywhere. And our systems are just that. I mean, someone like me would come into a house with, like, 7 piles, and even though if it was structured, I wouldn't find it as stressful as if it was just random piles all the way around. So it's kind of a good compromise.
This is awesome. We only have another minute, but you made me think that I run into this with my real estate offices. So I have 17 real estate offices, God knows how many desks, and it drives me crazy that real estate agents use desks not to actually sit and work. They are mausoleums of trash. So I am going to implement an acrylic bin system at my company that you cannot put stuff in desks. You get an acrylic bin. We'll have a storage room for acrylic bins so that people can actually use desks to work because
that's what they're for.
That is what they are for. We are unfortunately out of time. This has been an amazing program. Kelly's book is Organize Your Way, Simple Strategies for Every Personality. You can find Kelly at pixiesdidit.com. You can also find Pixies Did It on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Anywhere else I should direct people to, Kelly?
Nope. Those are our main social medias, and we put stuff out every day. We have newsletters, blogs, giving out advice on just these things. We do virtual consults, so anywhere in the U.S. you can call us, and we can figure out and give you solutions to your problem. And, you can get our book on Amazon or direct from our website.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Great information.
Thanks, Kelly.
Guys.
So we're going to take a quick commercial break. We'll be back with more Get Real after this.